Kenji Morales wiped his forehead as he made his way through the spotless halls of the Zaylan research cruiser. As the newest systems technician assigned to the Earth-Zaylan Cooperation Initiative, he pulled the worst task, repairing the climate systems in the quarters of Commander Vena, the most fearsome Zaylan officer on the ship. Don't gawk, don't talk unless asked, and whatever you do, don't bring up their height. His boss had warned him sternly. The Zaylans were towering beings, nearly 8 feet tall, with shining exoskeletal armor. Though it wasn't armor at all, but their natural bodies. When Kenji reached Commander Vena's door, it slid open with a mechanical sigh. Clutching his toolkit, he stepped inside and was immediately struck by the room. It felt like walking into a dream. Cool teal light glowed from hidden sources, painting strange geometric murals across the curved walls. The air smelled faintly like nutmeg mixed with something metallic. "You are the technician?" The voice came from behind, making Kenji spin around. Commander Vena stood blocking the entrance, her metallic skin catching a glow like liquid silver. She was even more intimidating in person. His eyes, despite himself, were drawn to the core set into her chest, a softly glowing, translucent organ nestled inside a clear section of her frame. Normally, Zaylan cores shone with steady aquamarine light, a color tied to focus and calm, traits their species prized. But Vena's core flickered oddly between blue and a deep amber, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. "Yes, Commander," Kenji answered quickly, forcing himself to look at her face, which meant tilting his head way back. "The climate controls in your quarters are off by about 7 degrees. Vena gestured gracefully to a panel embedded in the far wall, what looked like a sleeping alcove to Kenji. "The fault lies there. Proceed." Trying not to look nervous, Kenji knelt and opened the maintenance hatch, pretending he didn't notice her massive shadow looming over him. He could feel her studying him, not just watching but analyzing. "You differ from the previous ones," Vena remarked after several minutes. Her voice had a soft, chiming quality, almost musical. Kenji stayed focused on the circuits. "I'm new to the crew, Commander." "That is not what I mean," she said. She moved closer, her shadow swallowing him. "You do not fear me." Kenji finally looked up, meeting her silvery gaze. "I respect you, and your people. But no, I'm not afraid." The amber flare in her core grew brighter. Instinctively, his eyes flicked downward, then he froze. He remembered the cultural briefing. Watching a Zaylan's core was deeply personal, almost as bad as touching them uninvited. "Why do your eyes fall there, human?" she asked quietly. Kenji flushed. "Apologies, Commander. I didn't intend disrespect." "But you did look," she pressed, tilting her head in a way that humans often mistook for menace, but was actually a sign of interest. Kenji scrambled for words. "I notice your core. It's behaving differently than the others I've seen." Commander Vena stood silent for a long time. Kenji feared he had crossed some invisible line. Finally, she said, "You are observant. Most humans pretend not to see. You recognize the shifting. Colors linked to emotions?" Kenji guessed, feeling reckless now. "Yes." She turned her gaze out the viewport, where distant stars glittered like frozen sparks. Kenji worked in silence, feeling the strange tension hum through the room like static. As he sealed the panel and rebooted the systems, she spoke again without turning around. "Your repair is acceptable, yet the temperature still displeases me." Kenji frowned. "I can recalibrate it manually, Commander. The human settings should adapt to Zaylan standards." "Our alliance systems insist on human baselines," she said, almost bitterly. "May I check the deeper systems?" he offered. She gave a small nod, and Kenji moved to the auxiliary control board. As he worked, he noticed Vena inching closer again. When he glanced over, she was studying him intensely. Her core pulsed rapidly now, the amber color flaring up with an almost hypnotic rhythm. "Your eyes," she murmured. "They shift color too. Small changes. Vascular reactions, not unlike our own cores." Kenji's heart pounded. The space between them felt charged, dangerous, and exciting all at once. "I'll get your systems working right, Commander," he said, trying to steady his voice. Her mouth, if it could be called that, curved slightly upward, a smile or something close. I believe you will, Technician Morales. And I find myself curious about you. Her core burned a brilliant amber, and for the first time, Kenji wondered exactly what that color truly meant. 3 days later, Kenji received another service order to report back to Vena's quarters. No specific issue was listed. Feeling a mix of nerves and excitement, he hit the chime. The door slid open to a surprise. The room was dimmer now, bathed in soft, violet shadows more like an Earth sunset than the bright Zalan glow. You summoned me, Commander? Kenji asked. Vena stood before a holographic console, displaying Earth cultural files, literature, films, old art. I require clarification, she said. Explain this, blushing. Kenji blinked. That's not really a technical. Our treaty mandates cross-cultural assistance from technical staff, she interrupted smoothly. Right, of course, Kenji said, stepping further inside. Blushing is when humans get embarrassed. Blood vessels in the face expand and we turn red. Involuntary, she asked, stepping closer. Yeah, Kenji nodded. Sort of like how you regulate your core, but more automatic. You are perceptive, she said approvingly. She gestured to a seating area newly arranged for human comfort. Please, assist me further. Kenji sat, while Vena, even seated, still towered above him. In Zalan teaching, she said, the core must stay blue, logic above all. Other colors are considered distractions. But feelings still happen, Kenji pointed out. Her gaze sharpened. Yes, especially near you. Kenji felt his own face heat up. Perfect timing, considering the topic. I don't mean to cause trouble, he said quickly. You misunderstand, she said, her voice softer now. Among my kind, I am known for impeccable control. Yet around you, her words trailed off, but her core flashed an intense amber. Commander, Kenji asked carefully, what does amber represent? Vena stood silent for a long beat. Finally, she said, it means curiosity, discovery, sometimes desire. The word hung there, heavy and electric. Kenji's heart raced. Without warning, Vena moved to the wall and pressed a hidden panel. It slid away, revealing a lush, hidden greenhouse. Inside, plants shimmered with the same eerie hues he'd seen in Zalan cores. Aquamarine, amber, violet. These are Shireth, she explained. They grow only on Zala, sensitive to the heart's energy. Kenji stared in wonder. Among these glowing alien plants, a thought hit him. Sometimes diplomacy wasn't negotiated through politics or treaties. Sometimes it was written in colors, unspoken, impossible to fake. Kenji stepped into the greenhouse, amazed by the tendrils of the Shireth plants that swayed slightly, as if sensing him. They are alive to the energy around them. Vena said softly, touch one. Hesitant but curious, Kenji reached out. His fingers brushed a glowing blue frond. Immediately, the plant's color shifted, deepening to a rich violet. It responds to you, Vena noted, her voice quieter than he'd ever heard it. Violet signals deep emotion, layered thought. And what about you? Kenji asked, unable to stop himself. Instead of answering, Vena placed her four-fingered hand next to his on the plant. Where their touch overlapped, the Shireth blazed brilliant gold. I have never witnessed this reaction, she murmured, watching the light dance. Her core began to pulse in time with the plant's glow. Kenji held his breath. What does it mean? I do not know, she said, locking eyes with him. But I believe it is significant. Before either of them could say more, Vena's comm device buzzed sharply, cutting through the moment. She pulled away, her posture snapping back to formal precision. The golden glow dimmed, her core cooling toward calm blue. The Zalan High Council requires my presence, she said, but I wish to continue this cultural exchange. I'd like that too, Kenji replied, surprised by how much he meant it. As he stepped out of her quarters, he noticed the Shireth plants still shimmered gold, long after they had stopped touching them. Something was happening, something neither human science nor Zalan tradition had ever prepared them for. In the corridor, Kenji almost collided with another towering Zalan officer. The figure looked him over with thinly veiled suspicion. State your purpose with Commander Vena, the officer demanded. Technical consultation, sir. Kenji answered honestly. The officer's core stayed a rigid, icy blue. Commander Vena is critical to our diplomatic mission. Distractions will not be tolerated. As the officer moved away, Kenji realized just how dangerous and delicate their growing connection might become. Yet even knowing the risks, the memory of golden light and shared energy drew him forward into unknown territory, a place where emotion and reason no longer lived apart. An ear-splitting alarm ripped Kenji out of sleep. Red emergency lights flashed across his quarters. Critical life support failure in Sector 4. All tech personnel to emergency posts. Kenji's stomach clenched. Sector 4, where the Zaylan delegation was housed, where Vena was snatching his emergency gear. He sprinted through the panicked corridors. Humans and Zaylans rushed in every direction. When Kenji arrived, he found atmospheric shields already sealing off Sector 4. Morales, his supervisor yelled, waving him over. Chemical contamination inside the Zaylan sector. Some kind of failure between their filtration and ours. They're trapped. Kenji's heart hammered as he glanced through the translucent barrier. He could see Zaylan engineers struggling to maintain consciousness, their movements slowing dangerously. Commander Vena's in there, he realized aloud. 3 other delegates, too, his boss confirmed grimly. They've barricaded themselves in an inner chamber. Air's running out. Without thinking, Kenji started pulling on a protective suit. Stop, his supervisor barked. It's too risky. We're handling it remotely. Kenji shook his head. I know their systems. I can fix it faster. After a tense pause, his boss finally nodded. You've got 15 minutes of air. Go. Suit sealed, Kenji passed through the barrier. Inside, a purplish haze hung in the air, the toxic mist blurring his vision. At the inner chamber's door, he signaled urgently. It slid open. Commander Vena stood there, her usually commanding frame visibly weakened, her core pulse in chaotic colors, red, purple, flickering amber. Technician Morales, she said, her voice rough. The merger between our climate systems and yours has broken down. I see it, Kenji said, rushing to the malfunctioning panel. Our system thinks your adjustments are contamination and is fighting itself. Can you correct it? She asked, the worry clear despite her controlled voice. I can try, but I'll need high-level access. Without hesitation, she placed her hand on the console, granting him authorization. Kenji's hands flew across the alien interface, guided more by instinct and hours of studying Zaylan tech than training. Vena stayed close, offering quick adjustments where needed, working with him as an equal. 5 minutes left on your oxygen. His boss crackled in his ear. Kenji felt sweat pool at the base of his neck, but he pushed through it. Just a little more. The systems jolted, then purred back to life. Fresh, clean air began flowing through the chamber. Contamination levels dropping, the station AI announced. Around him, Zaylan delegates stirred back to wakefulness. One of them, the stern officer who had warned him before, fixed Kenji with a cold stare. You saved lives today, human, the officer said stiffly. But how did you know our system so intimately? Before Kenji could answer, Vena spoke up smoothly. I authorized an information exchange days ago, she said. Technician Morales acted within protocol. It wasn't exactly true, but the officer accepted it with a curt nod. As the emergency team swarmed in to finish repairs, Vena caught Kenji's eye and silently gestured for him to follow her. Away from prying eyes, she faced him. Remove your helmet, she said softly. The air is safe now. Kenji obeyed, breathing deeply. You risked yourself, she said, stepping closer. Her core still shimmered wildly with amber and gold. It's my job, he said quietly, though they both knew that wasn't the whole truth. I could see your heartbeat through the suit, she said, her hand hovering over his chest before pulling away. You were afraid, but you acted. In human terms, Kenji said, smiling slightly. That's called courage. Among the Zaylans, she explained, showing fear was a weakness. Acting despite fear, however, that was strength. Her core pulsed a steady, brilliant amber, with bright flares of gold. Then, in a move Kenji could never predicted, Vena reached out and placed his hand directly against the transparent shell over her core. Warmth flooded through him, an intense, living pulse, like another heartbeat under his palm. "This," she said, voice low and shaking, "is not something we share." Kenji stood frozen, overwhelmed by the electric thrum between them. "But you deserve to know, after today." Her silver eyes locked with his. "This is connection, alignment, attraction," Kenji whispered. For a suspended moment, there was only them, breathless, infinite. Then movement nearby broke the spell. Kenji saw the stern officer from earlier, staring at them, his core a disapproving steel blue. Vena let go of his hand, stepping back with composed grace. But the golden blaze of her core couldn't be hidden. And Kenji knew something had changed between them, something no rulebook could erase. They had been seen. Commander Vena's posture snapped into formality immediately, her voice switching to its official cadence. "The technical emergency appears resolved. Your assistance is noted, Technician Morales." Kenji nodded, understanding the public need for distance. Always glad to help, Commander. But just as he turned to leave, she spoke again, so softly only he could hear. "I meditate at the Station Arboretum at 0400 hours. The Shireth plants have been relocated there." An invitation, one he had no plans to refuse, no matter what consequences might come. At precisely 0400, Kenji entered the Arboretum. Artificial moonlight bathed the vast garden in silver and blue hues, feeding the night-blooming plants. Moving carefully among the towering alien flora, he followed a faint golden glow, a soft shimmer that seemed to guide him to a hidden corner. There, kneeling among the luminous Shireth, was Commander Vena. She wore something different, a flowing garment of deep indigo and pale silver, leaving her radiant core fully exposed. It wasn't armor. It was ceremonial, raw, vulnerable. "You came," she said without looking up. It wasn't a question. Kenji knelt beside her, feeling the heat of her presence. "Did you really doubt it?" he murmured. "No," she said, "but logic suggested you should." Finally, Vena turned to face him. "What is happening between us? It is unprecedented, dangerous for both our peoples." Kenji hesitated only a second before reaching out. His fingers hovered just above the transparent shell of her core. "May I?" Instead of answering, she took his hand and guided it to her heart. The instant their skin met the glowing surface, a shock of energy rippled through Kenji. It was stronger than anything he'd felt before, deeper, more complete. "Our cores are more than indicators," she said, her voice husky. "They are conduits, bridges. And what's happening now is a bond." Kenji asked, breathless. Her other hand traced the line of his jaw, the alien touch surprisingly gentle. Something like that. Yet between different species, it should be impossible. Around them, the Shireth pulsed brighter, brushing them with glowing tendrils. Where the plants touched their skin, golden light bloomed. Kenji whispered, "What does it mean?" Vena closed her eyes. "I do not know, only that I feel everything." Without thinking, Kenji leaned forward until their foreheads touched, a human gesture of trust and closeness. Vena tensed, then slowly, quietly, relaxed into contact. Her core erupted into pure golden light, casting deep, flickering shadows across the Arboretum. "In human culture," Kenji whispered, "this would be called falling in love." "Love," she repeated thoughtfully. "We have no direct word for that. The closest is Shireth, the soul light." Kenji smiled. "Honestly, your word is better." Her hands rested lightly on his shoulders, her head tilting curiously. "Humans express Shireth physically?" she asked. "With lips," he said, heart hammering his chest. "Show me," she said simply. Kenji hesitated only a heartbeat before leaning in. The kiss was light at first, tentative, exploratory. A bridge, not a conquest. Her lips were cooler than human ones, the texture velvety, almost otherworldly. Yet the connection between them was unmistakable, electric, alive. As they pulled apart, The golden shimmer between them grew, weaving threads through the air. Vena's core pulsed in rapid, dazzling bursts. She caught her breath. "This," she said, voice trembling, "is why we avoid emotional ties. The intensity, it devours logic." "Maybe that's not so terrible," Kenji whispered. Before she could answer, harsh white light flooded the arboretum. They pulled apart just as 3 Zaylan officials strode in. Leading them was an elder, draped in the symbols of the High Council, his core an unwavering, frigid blue. Behind him stood the suspicious officer from earlier, flanked by 2 armored guards. "This display," the elder said, voice sharp as a blade, "is unacceptable." Vena rose to her full, imposing height. Her core still burned gold despite her obvious efforts to suppress it. "Elder Vyther," she said, calm but defiant, "I was not informed of your arrival." "I was summoned," Vyther said, voice cold. "Concerning reports reached us. Inappropriate fraternization. Undisciplined emotional collapse." His stare pinned Kenji, like a predator sizing up prey. "This human has destabilized your discipline. You are to be recalled to Zayla immediately for purification." Vena's expression didn't falter. "My service record remains perfect. You will be reassigned," Vyther said bluntly. "And the human, isolated. No further contact with Zaylan personnel." Kenji felt the weight of those words crush him, like being sentenced without trial. "You can't just tear us apart," he burst out. "We found something real, a link between our species." "Exactly the danger," Vyther snapped. "We are not meant for emotional chaos. Zaylans endure through order, not attachments." He signaled the guards forward. But Vena stepped between them and Kenji, her core flashing brilliant crimson. "I invoke the right of personal domain," she said, her voice echoing through the vast garden. The elder's icy mask cracked, a flicker of surprise flashing in his core. "You defy High Council authority for him?" he said slowly. "I defy any order that demands I deny truth," she said firmly. "The Shireth plants have responded to us. That bond is real." Kenji added, "You can't fake the Shireth response. Your ancestors knew that. This connection, it matters." All around them, the Shireth intensified their glow, golden and undeniable. Elder Vyther's gaze hardened. "Commander Vena, your position, your status, your very future are at risk." Vena's hand found Kenji's, their fingers weaving together. "I know," she said, "but truth is truth. Denying it will be the real betrayal." Vyther turned stiffly. "Prepare the commander's departure. She will return to Zayla for reassessment. The human will stay behind, restricted from Zaylan interaction." The guards moved in. Vena squeezed Kenji's hand tightly, then let go, her core fading into a deep, aching violet, a color he'd never seen before. "This isn't over," she whispered fiercely. "No matter what they do, no distance can sever this bond." Kenji stood helplessly as she was led away, wondering if the golden light they had discovered would ever shine again, or it would fade into memory, like a lost star too far to reach. 2 months dragged past like a lifetime. Kenji was reassigned to the far outer sectors of the station, far from the Zaylan delegation, far from any hope of seeing Vena again. He worked mechanically, barely present, going through the motions. His thoughts, his heart, stayed tethered to a memory of golden light, and a quiet promise that had refused to die. After Vena's forced departure, the Shireth plants in the Arboretum began to wither. Their vibrant colors faded into dull browns and ashen grays. Station botanists puzzled over the rapid decline, but Kenji understood. The plants weren't reacting to soil conditions or light. They were reacting to the severed bond. They felt her absence, just like he did. One morning, as Kenji was running diagnostics on a faulty irrigation line, his supervisor's voice crackled through the comm. "Morales, report to the director's office. Now." Kenji's pulse quickened. Had something happened to Vena? Was he being disciplined again? He hurried through the station's winding corridors toward administration. Inside Director Kwan's office, Kenji immediately noticed he wasn't alone. Standing near the desk was Elder Vyther, clad in ornate Zaylan robes. His core, still a flat, unfeeling blue, pulsed faintly behind translucent cloth. Technician Morales, Director Quan said formally, Elder Vyther has requested your presence for a matter of diplomatic importance. Vyther studied Kenji with that cold, unreadable stare. The High Council, Vyther began, has conducted extensive analysis since Commander Vena's return to Zayla. Kenji braced himself. And what have you found? The Elder's expression tightened. That she was correct. The admission seemed almost painful for him to say. The bond, the Shireth resonance, formed between you is authentic. It has not been recorded in over 10 millennia, not since the first Zaylan contact with the Vexry species. Hope sparked alive in Kenji's chest. Then you believe it's real, he said, almost disbelieving. Real and unprecedented. Vyther confirmed. Commander Vena has undergone extensive evaluation. Her core resonance remains altered. You mean she still feels a connection? Kenji translated quietly. The Elder inclined his head stiffly. Despite our most rigorous interventions. Yes. Kenji's heart thundered. So why are you here? Vyther's voice hardened. Because logic demands adaptation when new facts emerge. And because Commander Vena requested this message be delivered to you. He produced a small device, placed it carefully on the desk. You may view it privately. After Vyther and Director Quan stepped outside, Kenji activated the device. A soft shimmer filled the room as a holographic projection materialized. Vena appeared, luminous and unmistakable, her core shining warmly in gold and amber. Kenji, she began, her voice a mixture of strength and vulnerability. I hope this finds you well. She smiled, an unmistakably human gesture. My return home was difficult. The Council tried to sever our bond through ritual, through science. They failed. She touched her core lightly. Our ancestors once knew what modern Zaylans forgot. The Shireth cannot be undone once truly formed. Her silver eyes glowed with conviction. Rather than weaken me, our connection has strengthened every aspect of my being. I lead better. I decide with more clarity. Logic and intuition together. She paused, her core pulsing faster. I have been granted permission to return, not in disgrace, but as an ambassador for a new understanding. Her image leaned closer, as if trying to breach the distance. But only if you still wish it. The recording ended, leaving Kenji standing in stunned silence, every fiber of him burning with the answer. When Elder Vyther and Director Quan re-entered, Kenji faced them without hesitation. Tell the Council, he said clearly, my answer is yes. 2 weeks later, Kenji stood in the docking bay, nerves on fire. The Zaylan diplomatic vessel eased into place. The airlock cycled open with a deep hiss. First came the Zaylan honor guard, then Elder Vyther himself, now wearing ceremonial robes accented with gold thread. Unthinkable months ago. And then, Vena. She had changed. Her exoskeletal armor was now decorated with intricate patterns that framed, not hid, her glowing core. And the core itself pulsed openly, vividly, gold and amber flashing like a living star. Their eyes locked across the bay, without caring about rank, about protocol, about anything except the gravity between them. Kenji moved. Commander, he said, keeping formal words but unable to hide his grin. Kenji, she replied, using his first name openly, causing murmurs to ripple through both human and Zaylan observers. My core is called to you across the stars, she said, her voice rich with emotion. I've felt it, Kenji admitted, unable to hide the trembling in his voice. Every day. She extended her four-fingered hand. Without hesitation, he took it. Where they touched, golden light blossomed across their skin. Elder Vyther stepped forward. The High Council has authorized a new initiative, he announced. Commander Vena will lead studies into interspecies resonance. Technician Morales is assigned as human liaison. Director Quan nodded. Earth Council concurs. You'll be working together. Officially now. But Kenji barely heard them. All he could see was Vena, her silver eyes shining, her core blazing. There's something I learned, she said, voice low. A greeting between bonded souls. Before he could respond, she leaned down, pressing her forehead against his. Then, To the absolute shock of the gathered Zalans, she brushed her lips gently against his. A real kiss, in front of everyone. The golden light between them flared so brightly that onlookers had to step back. When they separated, both their faces were bathed in the glow. In the ancient texts, Vena said softly, it's called the shared light, a bond visible to all when fully embraced. Elder Vytha bowed his head slightly, a rare Zalan admission of acceptance. It seems there is much our species still must learn, he said. Later, in the quiet of the revived arboretum, Kenji and Vena stood among the newly blooming Shireth. The plants now pulsed with golden energy, their tendrils winding affectionately around human and Zalan alike. Not everyone agreed to this. Kenji said softly, still in disbelief. No, Vena admitted. Some resist, but enough saw the truth. Enough chose light over fear. Her fingers traced soft patterns on his hand. Logic must bow to reality. And reality is... She pressed her forehead to his again. We are stronger together. As their lips met once more, the Shireth around them exploded into full bloom, golden light bursting outward like newborn stars. Whatever awaited them, whatever battles, whatever unknowns, they would face them hand in hand. Soul to soul, their connection a bridge across worlds. A light that could never be extinguished.